Dice Tower Tonight, episode 86.
Deduction Junction, what's your function?
Welcome to Dice Tower Tonight, a videocast about board games and card games, and especially the people who play them. On tonight's show, we're following the clues to reveal our favorite deduction games, and I have questions about how to take the best notes. Also, I have some clues to give Crystal in the chat. We run through some titles we've played lately, and we answer questions from the audience live. I'm Eric Summerer, and joining me now, the Nancy Drew to my Encyclopedia Brown, Crystal Dax.
Hello, Eric.
Hello there, Crystal. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I actually, for my capstone course, as part of my English degree, mystery novels was the theme of that capstone. And so I had to dig deep into some mystery novels. Much more in-depth than Nancy Drew in Encyclopedia Brown.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. My kids haven't really gotten into those Encyclopedia Brown and Hardy Boys and stuff like that. But I think they would. I think my eldest would probably enjoy the stuff like 5-minute mysteries. The hidden information books, but we haven't explored those really.
Mysteries were not really my thing, unless it was the Babysitters Club, and because they had a separate mystery series of books, and okay. I definitely read those.
Excellent. Well, it has been a week. It's been several, actually. But we have some good things to celebrate this week, including my shelves finally arrived. So the saga of the shelves, which we've covered a little bit of, but I decided to go with Besta shelving units for the game room that I'm putting together. And as you may know, Bestas are sold in it's like a modular system. So you buy the frame, just 4 walls, and then you buy shelves to go inside them. And while the frames were in stock at my local IKEA, and I was able to get 6 of them, shelves were nowhere to be seen. You couldn't get them anywhere. I finally had to actually order them and pay the delivery fee to have them shipped here. But in the process, I couldn't order the remaining shelving units that I still need. So the shelves arrived. I still need 4 more boxes. And my lovely wife, my wonderful wife, drove to IKEA because she saw that they were in stock and brought home 4 new new boxes, new frames that are the wrong size.
Oh
no! They're like they're supposed to be 6.5 feet or so, and these ones are like more eye level. And I'm like, these are wonderful, but they're not the right size.
Oh no!
So we have to take them back, and anyway, I have started to unpack boxes and started to put things on the shelves, and there's actually progress being made, and it's really nice, and it makes me happy.
Well, I'm very glad that your shelves are getting there. But I think there was one other piece of good news this week that people in the chat are probably already aware of.
Let's see.
Well, I mean, nobody's mentioned it in the chat, but I'm thinking that there's, good news around this YouTube channel.
Yes, there is. That the Dice Tower will continue for another year. That's good news.
Pretty good news.
No, we are, if you aren't aware, we are right now in the middle of the Kickstarter campaign for 2021. And that's for the entire Dice Tower channel. That's the podcast, that's the video series, and all the full-timers and part-timers that put the various shows together. I am one of those part-timers for stuff that I do for the podcast. And there's also payment for reviewers as they produce videos for the channel. And so all of this, or a good portion of this funding for paying for all this, comes from viewer and listener support, and that comes in the form of our Kickstarter campaign. And earlier today, they crossed the funding line, at least as Kickstarter goes. You have to reach a certain level before you get anything, and they reached the funding level. So hooray, we get to keep doing this, which is wonderful, and we appreciate all of the support so far. One of the things that you can get as a reward, because there's thank you gifts as we've done every year for these crowdfunding campaigns. One of the options that you can choose as a thank you gift is a voicemail message, and I have done these for the past several years as an option. And this year, Tom has opened it up. He thinks people are bored of just me, and so if you want some other voice from the Dice Tower, like Tom or Z or maybe Crystal, to do your voicemail message, you can sign up for that option and request that individual. I would not complain if you want me to do your voicemail message, but there are other options this year if you want to go that route. So that is also very cool.
I've never recorded a voicemail for someone before, but I would say that within reason, I'm happy to say just about anything on your voicemail message.
Yes, I'm willing to say just about anything.
Yeah.
I've done some pretty silly things. A lot of One Night Ultimate Werewolf stuff. People want, the gather round, children voice, the everyone close your eyes.
Everyone, leave a message at
yes.
the beep kind of stuff, I imagine.
It's a lot of, everyone close your eyes unless you're driving, and then don't close your eyes. But yes, all that is an option if you want to go that route on the Kickstarter.
And it looks like we have a new member here on the YouTube channel as well, Matthew McMahon.
Sweet.
So thanks, Matthew.
Very, very cool. Well, we should get to some games that we've been playing lately. Crystal, do you want to go first?
Absolutely. I would love to. So I teased this a week ago before our canceled stream that I'm talking about a game that came out originally in 1977.
Yes!
Which was the year of Eric Summer,
yes.
so to speak.
I was born in 1977, so this game is as old as I am.
Well, it is an abstract strategy game. Hopefully the green screen's not going to... Yeah, it's working pretty well. Called Pente? Pente?
Sure, I've always heard Pente, but I'm not sure. It could be Penta.
I mean, I'm guessing. Who knows? So I will admit, abstract strategy games are one of those things that I tend to always enjoy playing, but never am compelled to play, if that makes sense. Like, if it's sitting in front of me, I tend to enjoy playing them, but I'm never like, ooh, let's grab that off the shelf. So... similarly to a lot of abstract strategy games, you're laying pieces on a pretty nondescript board. In this instance, it's just a big grid, and you have little glass tokens that you've seen at any Renaissance fair or fish tank or whatever else.
Any old fish
little
tanks.
Beads that everybody is familiar with that are flat on the bottom. And you are putting your beads out on the board in the crosses of the grid. The first player has to place on one of a set of specified marks. You can see they're a little bit darker on the board, but it's kind of hard to see on the camera. And then from there on out, you can kind of place wherever you want. Players go back and forth placing beads onto the grid, and your goal is to either get 5 in a row or to capture 10 of your opponent's pieces. And the way you capture pieces is by surrounding 2 pieces in a row with 2 of your own pieces. So there's a lot of back and forth because you are trying to also build up your lines to theoretically get to that 5 mark while also blocking your opponent and also potentially stealing pieces from them. I'm horrible at this game, like really bad. With abstract strategy games, I tend to find it difficult to be forward thinking. And so I see things in the moment and it's hard for me to kind of plan, 5 moves ahead and whatnot. And since there are multiple layers to this game specifically, I don't do well, but it is nice because within the rules of the game, you have to verbally say when you have 3 in a row or when you have 4 in a row. So there's no like, somebody obviously has 4 and then all of a sudden they have 5 and you didn't see it coming. Like you are very clear about when you've hit specific touch points. And of course, it's really fun when somebody says 4 and you don't have a piece on either end of that line. And you're like, all right, scrap the board. Let's do this again.
Do it again.
I definitely did that a couple times. But what is nice about that moment so let's say connect 4, if you have that moment, there's nothing you can do. But in this game, because you can capture pieces, if somebody has an open-ended 4, it is possible that you can disrupt that.
You could capture something out of the middle. And
yeah, it's not impossible to do that. So this game came out in the 70s. I had never played it until recently, till my friend introduced it to me. And it's not one that, I'm going to be pulling off the shelf all the time or really like, oh my gosh, I really want to play that again. But I have found myself intrigued in learning more. It's, you have that moment where you're kind of like, maybe I should Google like starting moves for this game just to like give yourself a little bit of a leg up.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I'm really bad at it, but I am enjoying it. I'm glad my friend introduced it to me. And yeah, so that is Pente, which I don't think we care who the publisher is, but it came in this edition. Let's see, this one specifically was released, I think, in, I don't know, it's Winning Moves Games, but who knows if it's being published by anybody right now.
Yeah, Winning Moves is no longer around.
Right.
But that looks like a pretty good in shape, or well shaped copy. That copy is in good shape, I was going to say.
Yeah, I think this one is not from the 70s specifically. I think this is a newer printing of that game. Oh, it says Pente game is a trademark of Hasbro and is used with permission. 2004 Hasbro.
Oh.
So
okay.
This specific copy is about 17 years old. It would appear.
There we go. Awesome. I have a slightly newer game to talk about. This one came out last year, and it is a deduction game fitting with our theme today, The Search for Planet X. It is...
That one's from Foxtrot, right?
It's, yes. So Renegade and Foxtrot over there in the corner. Hello.
I like Foxtrot stuff.
They have some good stuff. Your job in The Search for Planet X is to, shocker, find Planet X.
Dun, dun, dun!
So you have this board that represents the night sky. This is the standard version of the game. It has 12 spaces. And over here on the back is the advanced game. Look at all those sectors. 18 sectors over there. But we're just going to go back to the easy side. There is this disc, and it's a little hard to do vertically. But this
Don't
thing...
snap the board in half, Eric.
Don't do it.
Do.
This thing sits in the middle, and it rotates, see if I can get the correct direction, around in a circle, so only part of the sky is visible at a time. You can only send out feelers on like half the sky at one time. And so this thing rotates around. It's actually a time track sort of thing. So as you take actions, your piece is going to move around this time track, and this then rotates to meet the whoever is last in line of the different players. So if you are last in line and you move forward, then this thing's going to rotate. But if you are not, or if you only move a little bit, then it's not going to move very far. It's going to reach the whoever is last in line. So what you're doing, what am I doing? I'm going to put this down because my arm hurts. So the little sheet that they give you has the same diagram of the night sky. And on your turn, you're going to send out feelers and try and get information from some portion of the sky that you can see right now. You can check out one specific sector. You can say, what is in Sector 5? And you can get information back, but you can't do that very much. Not only is it expensive to do for time, but you can only do that twice in the whole game. You can also say, this swath of 5 sectors, how many asteroids are there in that space? And then you'll get a number back. I should say this is all run by an app. So you start the game, start a seed of the game, and you can have multiple people with multiple devices running the same app. You just enter a 4-digit code, and now you're all playing the same seed, and all of the stellar objects are in the right place. I should say it's not just Planet X you're looking for. You're also looking for asteroids and comets and dwarf planets, and they all have rules about how they interact with each other and where they can be. The comets can only be in certain sections. The asteroids are clustered together in specific ways. You can go to research events as your turn. You can say, I'm researching. I will research the relationship between asteroids and comets. And you'll get some sort of rule that governs those two objects, which then you secretly write down. They're not next to each other, and the other players don't necessarily know that. You can also, and now I'm going to need the board back, at certain points as the thing rotates around, you're going to reach little research points where you can submit a theory. So I can take my little token that says, this is an asteroid, and I think an asteroid is in Sector 3. And I put that out on the board. Then these theories advance each time you hit one of those icons, and when it reaches the end, we say, all right, Eric thinks that there's an asteroid here. And we check to see if that's right. And if I'm right, we then flip up the other theories to see if those people are right too. And you'll get points at the end of the game for having correct theories. Also being the one that got it first. But if I'm wrong, then this token just goes away, and I'm out of luck. I don't get any points for that. You do this until somebody finds Planet X, and they have to both find Planet X and the 2 sectors next to it, and that ends the game. Everybody gets one more turn to maybe take a guess themselves at Planet X or submit a couple theories. And then you count up points. You get points for the theories you submit, the correct theories for finding Planet X, and what order you were in finding it. And most points wins. Not only can you play this with multiple players, but you can also play it solo. There is a bot that basically just takes its own turns, and it will submit its own theories, and it will follow its own logic, and it will send. So you're looking at the bot will be like, I investigate these 4 sectors. I'm like, I'm not even looking at those 4 sectors. What does he know that I don't? And for a game that I wanted to play with my kids, but they weren't interested in playing with me, it was a nice consolation prize to be able to play against the bot and still have a good time.
Was it a constellation prize?
That's good.
I'm so sorry.
Good. Yes. The search for Planet X is great. I need to play it with more players, but I'm excited to do so. It's a very fun deduction game. Search for Planet X from Renegade Games.
This is one that was it this on Kickstarter or pre-order or something at some point? And I feel like it might have been a Kickstarter at some point, and I was like, ooh, but I have this weird thing with deduction games. I think I've talked about this before. Like, I just played Cryptid within the past year or a year and a half or so, and like, I'm bad at deduction games. We're gonna talk about that more in a minute. But
okay.
There's something about them. I like it, even though I'm really bad at it. But we can get into that later.
I think we should.
All right.
But first, I have a game to play with you, Crystal, in the chat. This is one we played before, one that I think we enjoyed, and it is following, again, our theme today. We're going to play... Are you ready to fly by? I promise to try not to make you all sick. Here we go. Hello, there's me. And there's the booth. We're going to play Similo. Yes, indeed. And hopefully we're going to tilt this so that it all looks right. And we're even going to make it the entire screen by hitting that button. All right, there we are. So for those of you who have not played Similo before, this is a card game in which you are trying to determine one of these 12 cards. I have already selected which card we are trying to discover. And you'll also note that this says Similo History. This deck, with the thing that you're trying to discover, is the history deck. There will be personages from history that we'll reveal in just a second. And we'll be using, for clues, the Similo Fables deck. This has sort of storytelling characters and fable characters that we're going to use. So each round of the game, there are 5 rounds, and again, the object is to figure out the one card that has been pre-selected out of this group. I will give you a card from this deck, and I will either play it like this or like this. And if it's face up, that means that this card, I can't get the angles right trying to do this and look at the screen at the same time. Here we go. If it is face up, if it is straight up and down, this card has something to do. It is alike. It has something alike with the card I'm trying to get you to guess. If I have it sideways, it is something that is not alike. It is different from the card that I am trying to get you to guess.
Okay.
So after the first round, you and the chat, Crystal, you're working together totally. This is going to be, just full discussion. There's no restrictions on your communication. You can just chat all you want and discuss the clues. Once, Crystal, you make the final decision, we will eliminate one card in round 1. In round 2, we will eliminate 2 cards. In round 3, we'll eliminate 3. Round 4, eliminating 4 cards, which should leave 2 cards, and in the final round, you'll guess the correct one. Now, of course, if at any point you eliminate the card we're looking for, we have failed. So this is a tricky game. This is not easy to do.
I believe we've done that before, where I eliminated the
in round 1.
Card. Yeah, like right away.
I believe we did. All right, so let's reveal our personages. We begin with Marie Curie, which says Polish chemist, researcher on radioactivity, first woman to win a Nobel Prize. There she is. Hello, Marie. Next up, Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan is a conqueror and first great Khan of the Mongol Empire. I like that they give you the descriptions just in case you don't know who these people are.
Yeah.
Sitting Bull is next. Sitting Bull was a Native American chief, leader during the Battle of Little Bighorn. I'm actually going to move my mic a little bit closer so I'm not leaning away from it. All right, next up, Napoleon Bonaparte. French emperor who won many successful battles after the French Revolution. Over here, we have Cleopatra, Egyptian queen, the last ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom. Confucius. Hello, Confucius. Chinese philosopher who promoted virtuous life, justice, and sincerity. Alexander the Great, king of Macedonia who conquered the entire Persian Empire. William Shakespeare, some guy who wrote plays. No, don't fall over. No!
Oh, no.
Ah! Okay, 1 second.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. That's not supposed to happen. My stand is very narrow. All right. There's that. You go here. Hang on, I have to... I gotta crawl under the table. Hang on a second.
Oh my goodness, I love this so much.
It's fine, everything's fine. Okay.
Everything's fine, it's fine. We're fine.
Ow! I got my finger stuck in my headphones. Hang on.
Wait, how do you get a finger stuck in a headphone?
Okay, look. So if I'm putting them on, I have my fingers stuck and then I squeeze it.
Oh gosh.
All right, so our remaining group, after that commercial break, Virginia Woolf, English writer, author of Mrs. Dalloway, Orlando, and To the Lighthouse. Hello, Virginia Woolf. Mary Shelley, English novelist, author of the Gothic novel Frankenstein.
Married to Percy Shelley.
It just says Mary Shelley. Sorry.
Huh?
Catherine the Great, Russian Empress, and the longest ruling female leader of the Russian Empire. And last but not least, Pocahontas, Native American woman who saved the life of the colonialist John Smith. Or colonist, not colonialist. All right, so it's time for our first clue. I have my initial hand, so I have a hand of 5 cards, and after I spend one of them, I can draw a new one. So we're going to begin with this card, King Arthur,
okay.
And this is, I'm playing it straight up and down.
Okay, which means that the answer is like this card.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so the two immediate things that come to mind in chat, feel free to weigh in. You all are playing with me here. He is a ruler of some kind, and he is male. Yeah, so Kabuki Kid said royalty, likely. I would say that we would probably be safe eliminating one of the female cards that was not a leader of some kind. So, yes, the beard is also a good point, Coralu. We also don't know what was in Eric's hand, so that's what makes this game interesting, is he may be picking it for a reason that we don't think. Corlew, I agree. Marie Curie can probably go. Eliminate Mary Shelley. There's a lot of options here. I think Marie Curie. We've got a couple votes for Marie, so we're gonna ditch Marie.
Marie is out, and you are still in the game.
Hey, we didn't lose in round 1, chat. Good
Hooray!
job.
Huzzah! All right, I'm going to play. I got my new hand of cards. I got one new one that didn't help me very much. So we're going to play the Tin Woodman sideways.
Okay, so
This is what we have so far: King Arthur and Tin Woodman.
I mean, the Hexy Beast, you are more than welcome to guess who it is. We can't guess until the last round, but if you predict it now, we'll all be very impressed with you when we get there.
Yes, indeed. There's no bonus for doing so, but you have to
okay,
just have to remove.
The thing that my brain immediately went to is, okay, so clearly the answer is somebody with a heart. Because the Tin Woodman does not have a heart. That's obviously, or not obviously, but that's probably not the answer.
The Tin Woodman is a character from The Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz, yes. The Tin Man is what he's called in the movie adaptation. So people are pointing out the hat and that he is also male. Do we have, I mean, we only have one hat. Well, we don't, I guess technically Cleopatra's wearing something on her head. Your guess is Shakespeare. Oh, so you think the answer is Shakespeare. I'm going to remember that, Hexy Beast. All right, but we want to pick two people who are not like the Tin Woodman. So my inclinations are also to go female again. So I'm thinking Virginia Woolf. Ooh, but if we're talking about literary stuff, that might not be. Okay, so maybe Pocahontas and Catherine nope, she's a leader. Yeah, but I don't think it's probably Catherine the Great. Pocahontas and Catherine the Great, maybe? What do y'all think? You think Virginia seems safe? Okay, we could go. How about Virginia Woolf and Pocahontas then, chat? What do you think?
Are we going with that? Virginia Woolf and Pocahontas?
You know what? We're just going to go with it.
Virginia Woolf and Pocahontas eliminated, and we are still in the game.
Okay.
Alrighty. I think this is the way to go. The new one is the fairy godmother, and it is straight up and down.
Okay, so the answer is like the fairy godmother.
Yep.
So
it's hard to do this with one hand, but there you go.
One, see, this is Similo, specifically Similo history combined with Similo fables. So like the fairy godmother could mean a number of things. It could relate to age or gender or generosity or singing songs about bibbidi bobbidi boos, you know,
They all did that.
Well, clearly that applies to everyone. She does look an awful lot like Catherine the Great in this artwork. So we clearly want to keep, I would say we want to avoid eliminating the female characters this time around, potentially. I also would like to potentially keep anyone who is a little bit older. So real life people should be okay to get rid of. Coralu says she is fictional, but these are all the rest of them are real people here. So Trent Turner says Catherine the Great's the answer. we don't know what Eric's options were in his hand. So gray hair and female who is a ruler. I think it's definitely a possibility there. So I'm gonna say let's get rid of Shakespeare, Sitting Bull, and I'll let chat make. Okay, chat agreed with Sitting Bull. And for the third one, I'm thinking maybe I'm actually thinking Cleopatra. Is that dangerous? Uh, Kabuki Kid says Confucius. I'm going with Kabuki Kid.
You said Confucius.
Yes.
Confucius is out. So you
gosh.
eliminated Confucius, Sitting Bull, and William Shakespeare. Those were all good selections. You are all set. So round 4, we need to remove 4 of them. Let's see. So yes, who is left? We have Mary Shelley, Catherine the Great, Cleopatra, Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, and Napoleon Bonaparte. I'm going to choose this one, the Giant, and straight up and down.
Okay. So my brain immediately wants to eliminate Napoleon because even though he wasn't that short, he is notoriously thought of as being incredibly short. We do have to get rid of 4 this time around. So the person is like the Giant. So the Giant to me does kind of also lean toward Catherine the Great, like I think great giant. But then we've also got Alexander the Great. Okay, so I'm gonna ditch Napoleon for sure.
Let's see. Napoleon, he's here.
He's at the bottom.
Napoleon's out.
I'm going to ditch Mary Shelley.
Mary Shelley is out.
Goofy Spiel, the Giant is from Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yes.
I still think Cleopatra can go. And yes, somebody in chat agreed with me. But let's ditch Cleopatra.
Cleopatra's out. One more.
Now this is where it gets tough because I think all 3 of these in theory were close, but I think Alexander the Great is probably the least likely based on the previous clues. Halo, I agree. Napoleon was not even short for that time, but I just know how he is thought of.
Yes.
So I know that Napoleon wasn't that short. I'm gonna ditch Alexander and see what happens.
Alexander the Great out, and we're still alive.
Oh my god!
All right, so it is either Genghis Khan or Catherine the Great, and I'm going to choose not the genie.
Not the genie. Okay, well the genie is male, I assume is male, has a beard, and I mean, I'm thinking it's got to be Catherine, y'all. It's right. Jeff Langford says it's got to be Catherine. Kabuki Kid agrees. We're going with Catherine, Eric.
Genghis Khan is out, and Catherine the Great is the correct answer. Well done,
Yay!
everybody.
Good job, Chad.
You did it. You did it. You did it. All right, let's bring this back to the 2-shot. That, once again, is Similo, both Fables and History. There is an app for Similo that has many more decks, and I'm sort of annoyed that I don't have any more physical decks for this game because it would be fun to play with more. I've seen people play with like Mysterium cards or Dixit cards, which is another fun way to do this. But anyway, well done, everybody. Yeah. You did it.
The chat, you all helped me out a lot. I really appreciated having a sounding board to bounce my ideas off of.
It's very helpful. So our discussion today is deduction games. We've already sort of led into it with the various clues and talking about Search for Planet X. Where do we want to start? What is to you a deduction game, Crystal? What defines the genre?
So this is the point I think that some people kind of forget, like a little bit, including myself occasionally, is there is a very big distinction. Well, there is a distinction between deduction games and social deduction games. And social deduction games are very popular with a lot of different board gamers. And while some social deduction games involve deduction elements, a deduction game, in my mind, generally has no social deduction in it. Would you agree with that?
Yes. I definitely think of, like, social deduction is a lot about hiding who you are, and it's often like a team game.
It's about revealing identities rather than information.
Right.
So,
Whereas deduction games, I feel there is a solution to deduction games. Although I'm wondering if you consider hide and seek games where you've got one player who is hiding and trying to avoid the other players. Is that a deduction game as well?
okay, so you're talking something like Spectre Ops, like where
Yes.
honestly, I think that is probably the closest we would get to a hybrid of the two genres, because I do think you have to use deduction and social deduction, because you're in those games, at least when I play them, I am using the information available to me to deduce where the player might be, but I'm also using my knowledge of that person in my deduction.
Right.
So I think there's a little bit of both. And gosh, now I want to play Spectre Ops.
Yes, I do too. I have yet to introduce Spectre Ops to my kids. My eldest loves Stop Thief.
Okay.
And he loves to play as the one versus many mode. And so that's basically the same as Spectre Ops, with different movement rules and stuff. And so he would love, I think, Spectre Ops.
The app never happened, right? The Spectre Ops app that was originally intended to come out?
It did not.
What a bummer.
I saw a prototype of it and everything, but it's, it just didn't. Things fall off. I think it got lost in the shuffle of sales of Plaid Hat games as it moved around to different companies, and it just...
No, I mean, that makes sense.
Sad.
And after a certain amount of time has passed and the appetite for the game is less...
Yeah, it's
fervent.
no longer worth it to make the investment to make that happen.
Yeah.
Which is disappointing. So that sort of defines it a little bit. So we've got the hybrids of hide and seek games, but the pure deduction games have, to me, some sort of solution. Like the quintessential one is Clue. You've got one card, or no, 3 cards. You've got a weapon and a suspect and a place, and those get removed from the deck at the beginning. They're put under the board, and your job is to figure out what those 3 cards are, and then the mechanisms of doing that.
What's interesting for me, I actually, even though I played Clue a lot as a kid, I think of Mastermind being a little bit more quintessential than Clue for some reason in my head. I don't know why. But, I also played a lot of Mastermind as a kid. It is a very, there is one solid answer and one person that knows it and one person that doesn't.
Yeah.
And
that's almost a more mathematical, almost more pure deduction game. In a code-breaking style game, and there are others of those as well in the style of Mastermind.
Yeah, I have one on my list, actually.
Excellent. So a lot of these have a method for asking questions, for gaining the knowledge that you are trying to seek. And I'm wondering if you like free-form questions. Like, for example, we've got Mystery of the Abbey. This one right here. This is one of the classics. This was sort of the clue beater when it first showed up. But in this game, you can ask whatever questions your heart desires. And part of learning the game and doing well at it is giving information to yourself without revealing too much to your opponents. And that's a skill in this game, which I frankly have never really gotten the hang of. And this is not necessarily one of my favorites. It's still sticking around because my wife has enjoyed it. But it's not one that hits the table as much because of that free-form question format that I just never really, connect with. I prefer Sleuth, a game that you're also trying to figure out what one card is, but it has a much more structured format for asking your questions. You're told you can ask about one style of card, or you're told you can ask about one color of card, and that focuses your questioning, and I think makes it a little more structured to me. Maybe a little more mechanical, but I sort of prefer that option. Which one do you like better?
So, for me, it kind of doesn't matter because I'm horrific at deduction games. I don't want to brag, but I consider myself to be a reasonably intelligent person. I know a lot of things about life. I can speak somewhat eloquently at times, although not usually when I'm live on the internet. And for whatever reason, you give me a bunch of pieces of information within the context of a deduction game, and I will go, aha, I've got it. It was Colonel Mustard in the observatory with the wrench. And everyone goes, yeah, no, none of that is true.
None of that.
And I will be looking at my notes and going, what did I do wrong? Like, because the thing for me that I struggle with, especially with the note-taking aspect of these games, it's not the questions I think that I struggle with, it's the answers. Because a lot of times you get answers that are not complete. Like, you get an answer that gives you a maybe scenario. Like, it's maybe this or maybe not that. And you have to eventually whittle those things down from multiple different clues. And my brain really struggles to piece the maybes together. If I have, it's not red, it is blue. Those obviously are easy to suss out. But when it could be red or orange, but only if X, Y, and Z are also true, my brain breaks. And so then I just start asking too obvious questions because I struggle and I don't know where to go, and then I can't get the right information. So I think for me, structure is probably better only because I tend to struggle with what to ask in certain situations. But the games that have structured questions do often, I think, also tend to be more difficult. Like, they've set up the structure of the game in a way that even those very clear questions will not always lead you to a clear answer. Yeah. For me, Incognito is a game that you have partners and your partner is hidden from you. You don't know who your partner is within the game, but it works similarly to Clue. You're traveling around a map and trying to get information, and you have to figure out not only who your partner is, but also certain pieces of information. And the time I played this game with some friends at my house, had my partner wrong, had the information wrong. And my poor partner knew that I was going down the wrong path and couldn't do anything about it. It was just like, oh, Crystal. And at least it's amusing to play these games with me, if nothing else.
So, talking about structure in the questions, that leads me to my question about taking notes. Do you prefer having basically a blank piece of paper? Let's see, where are we? This is the clue sheet for Sleuth that it gives you. It's basically just a grid. Good luck. Have fun. Or would you like to have something more structured, like here's how you write notes? Too many things in my hands. So this game...
You are correct about Incognito having that's actually one of the coolest board game components. I really love it.
Oh,
the thing, it's got colored balls inside of it, and you shake the thing, and then whichever 3 balls are visible, that's where you can move on your turn, and it's pretty neat.
So Awkward Guests was the one that I just held up to the screen, and nope, that's from Mystery of the Abbey. It has this map of the place, and you're trying to figure out where people moved and what rooms they could have been in, and you're collecting clue cards and stuff like that. It's an excellent game. But you can see here's the notes that I took. All these scribbles and question marks and circles and arrows, and it actually gives you on the player aid suggestions on how to fill out your clue sheet.
Ooh.
So if you get this type of information, here is the stuff you can cross out. Here's what this means if you get this particular type of clue, which I find very useful. I really like knowing, because I feel like I've leaped. Part of the key in doing well at some of these games is figuring out your note system. And I feel like because it told me a good way to do it, I've already leaped to that second game of knowledge. And I mean, I'm still not doing that great, but it's better than if I was trying to, blaze a trail by myself.
I've heard a lot of good things about Awkward Guests, and Kabuki Kid says that is the game that I need to play. Coralu also mentioned that I should try Tobago, which is probably true because my friend that taught me Cryptid and found that I liked it then found out I had never played Tobago and went, oh, we have to play Tobago then. So clearly Tobago is one that should be on my list, and I did not know that it was on BGA. So now I definitely want to do that soon.
Yes, Tobago is excellent. I believe there is a new version of Tobago coming up. It's like a 3-sided island instead of, I vaguely recall, I forget what the actual title is, but it is a rejiggering, a new edition using the Tobago system.
Okay. Very cool. So we mentioned earlier Mastermind style games, and one that I really like that is in the vein of Mastermind is Rising 5 Runes of Asteros.
Yes.
It is definitely lighter than a lot of cooperative games, but it is neat because it is a cooperative deduction game with that mastermind element. And it actually has a pretty neat theme laid on top of it as well. And it has an app that controls the puzzle, essentially, that you're trying to solve. This one is published, I don't remember the original publisher, but Gray Fox Games picked it up and published it. And I know Sam Healy at one point when he was still at the Dice Tower was raving about it, and everybody was baffled because it didn't feel like a Sam game. But it's a lot of fun. And as far as like light family weight cooperative games go, it's a really neat one.
Yeah, I got to play that at a convention and immediately purchased a copy to bring home and play with my kids, which hasn't happened. So
I'm sure that it'll like every other game, someday, maybe,
yeah.
I guess.
Yes, indeed. That happens so many times. Like, you buy a game, this game would be perfect for blank, my college buddies, or this would be great to play with my usual game group, and then it just doesn't hit the table with that group of people.
And after a certain amount of time passes, it gets less and less likely, I think, because your brain just kind of moves away from it.
That's one of the, I'm getting off topic now, but one of the benefits of having to pack up my entire collection and put it all back on the shelf again is I'm pulling out some boxes and going, wow, I really want to get this one to the table. Or also realizing how many games I just moved that I still haven't played. That shelf of opportunity, as some call it, is deep. And at first I was like, here's where I'm going to put all the games I haven't played yet. And then I ran out of space in that section. Anyway.
So, if you haven't named it yet, what's your favorite deduction game, Eric?
Man, I want to say that Sleuth, because of its purity. But, I think maybe Cryptid has taken over that position, which is a little bit different from Sleuth. Sleuth is so mechanical, so dry almost. But Cryptid has the whole positional element. But what I like about Cryptid is that a lot of the clues, there's not a lot of note-taking in Cryptid. You can take notes, but it doesn't give you a pad of paper. It doesn't give you a system for taking those notes. All of the information is displayed on the board. You're placing tokens out where things can be. And it's sort of this visual representation on the board of the information that you would be taking notes for. It does mean you have to keep a lot in your head as you're combining that information with what you know, because you know a specific rule that nobody else does, and then what you think the other players know. And so there's a lot of layers to Cryptid. But I think it is my favorite of the bunch at this point. I haven't played Awkward Guests enough to have it pass those games. I'm not sure if it will, though. I really like it, but it's not quite as flashy as Cryptid.
It's funny. I asked you what your favorite was, obviously intending to lead into what my favorite is, and my friend Kathy just popped into the chat. Her username is Sadgrad. She said, Crystal, don't forget Shipwreck Arcana if it's not on your list. And that is, in fact, my favorite deduction game.
Okay.
It is actually one of the few deduction games that I'm good at, I would say. Shipwreck Arcana, the only place you can buy it is direct from the publisher on their website, but it is amazing. I love teaching it to people. It's really fun because you have tokens with numbers on them, 1 through 7, in a bag. And on your turn, you draw out 2 of those tokens and secretly, and you do not show them to the rest of the group. And there are a bunch of tarot-sized cards on the table that have rules on them. And you then take one of the tokens from your hand and place it face up below one of the cards on the table. And the other players then have to try and guess what the number is on the tile that is still in your hand based on where you placed your other tile. So for instance, the card might say, place a tile here if your other tile is 1 above or 1 below this tile. And it's interesting because you've got little grids of tiles in front of each player that you can manipulate to kind of show, okay, we know it's either a 3 or a 5, but we don't know which. It's really, really, really fun. And it's underrated and not enough people have played it. But man, I love Shipwreck Arcana so much.
Yeah, that's one that I haven't had a chance to play. There's so many great deduction games. It's impossible to play them all.
Ooh, would Letter Jam be my favorite? Is Letter Jam Deduction? Letter Jam's Deduction.
It is Deduction.
Ooh, that might beat Shipwreck Arcana.
And cooperative deduction, because you mentioned Rising 5, which I was talking about, and that's a cooperative deduction game as well, which is, I kind of like that because everybody's working together to solve the puzzle, as it were. Stop Thief, when you're playing cooperative mode, is a cooperative deduction puzzle. In that hide and seek method. But when you're playing against the app, it feels a little bit more like you're solving the puzzle. Than it does like you're playing against. It doesn't feel as much like you're playing against the app. It's that I'm trying to solve the puzzle of where that digital bad guy is.
Agreed. Darren, Battlestar Galactica is social deduction, not deduction. So it would be on my list otherwise.
Yes, indeed. Let's see. Any others that you wanted to bring up, Crystal?
I had a few others just listed, like Black Sonata, which is a really fun solo game, and Zendo, which is the pyramids from Looney Labs, where you've just got colored pyramids that you're organizing on the table and trying to meet certain rules. But I think we named most of the others that I had on my list.
Yeah, Zendo
Sorry, go ahead.
Zendo is very good, and the new edition makes it a little bit simpler because it has suggestions for rules. With the original version of Zendo, there was a boxed version, but you could also just play it with whatever loony pyramids you had. The newer edition uses some pyramids, but also some other shapes. But it also has a whole collection of cards that allow you to select the rules in varying skill levels as well. And it makes it a little easier for new players to come up with the rules that they want to play with, which is pretty neat.
That's nice because, when I played with my friends, we were making them up, and sometimes you're not certain, like, is this an okay rule to set? And so having a little bit of more clearly defined rules is probably nice.
Yes, indeed. All right, one last question I wanted to ask about note-taking. Do you take notes on the other players when you're taking notes in these games?
For me personally, because I tend to struggle with my own notes so much, I do not tend to take notes on the other players, unless it's something like really clear or important. Generally, I'm not going to take notes there because I'm going to end up confusing myself more. And I may lose out on information that way, but for me, it's just too much often for me to do that.
Yeah, I feel like that's the advanced play that you sort of have to get to eventually when you're playing these. Like, you can be worried about yourself up to a point, but also the only way you're going to get ahead of the other players is to figure out what they're asking as well. Like, I remember the first time I realized in some game that, like, wait, I should be writing down what they're asking about, because that's going to tell me what they are trying to figure out, what they know and what they don't.
Right.
The one we just talked about, Search for Planet X, here we go, actually has a section on the note sheet for what the other players ask about.
Okay.
So here's turn number 1, and here's what I asked and the answer I got. But then the other players have columns as well where you write down what they asked about. You won't get the answers because they asked the app and it tells them something. But you find out what they were asking. So they searched this cluster of sectors for asteroids, and they got some sort of answer. And then based on their behavior, you can see maybe they learned something, maybe they didn't. And
so
that can
you're actually incorporating a little bit of social deduction into what is generally more of just a deduction game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think in any of these multiplayer, even standard deduction games, playing the other players is part of it. There is sort of a social aspect in what are the other players doing. And like Mystery of the Abbey, what questions are they asking? How are they phrasing those questions? And then there's the flip side of, well, if everyone is listening to me ask questions, then maybe I should ask a question that I already know the answer to.
Also, now my brain is exploding a little bit because in any game with any kind of hidden information, whether that is victory point goals or something not deduction based at all, it feels like there is a tiny bit of social deduction especially when you're playing games with people that you already know, in like trying to suss out, well, wait, why did they go to that spot? Or, why are they grabbing that resource? So are all competitive games social no, okay.
No, I think that's the theory. All games are social deduction at the end.
That's clearly true.
And even the solitaire games, because you're learning things about yourself. And that's the lesson we should all take with us.
It was the friends we made along the way.
The clues were inside us the whole time.
That's a perfect way to wrap up our discussion on deduction games. If anybody in chat has any deduction games that they love that we didn't mention, please feel free to drop them in the chat. And also, we have a few minutes left to answer questions from you all. And come on, we haven't been here in 3 weeks. We know you all have some burning questions for Eric and I.
Yes,
and they
indeed.
don't have to be about how much we loved the end of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh my goodness!
But they could be.
Oh, yes. The whole season was so good. There were some really strong episodes in there, and oh boy, so exciting.
Kathy is mentioning a game, she didn't mention it by name, but Escape from the Aliens in Outer Space. I hate that game.
No, really?
I don't hate I do not enjoy that game. Like, I will never play that game again. I was stressed the entire time.
Okay.
No,
yes.
Can't play. Cannot.
It is stressful. There is, and that's one, it's a hide and seek game, really. And so you've got the social aspect and the deduction, and also because it's a hit and roll game, you don't know who the aliens are. It's stressful.
Too much. Stressful. I didn't like it. I don't want it. But yes, Star Trek Discovery season 3.
It was excellent. I'm trying to get my wife into it. Yes. My wife watched maybe 2/3 of the episodes, more that she happened to be in the room. And I keep trying to get her interested in the show, and I saved the first episodes, the first season's worth of episodes. Like, do you want to start? We can start from the beginning. Maybe we could jump to season 2 and just try and go from there. And she's like, "No, I'm good. But she started getting into some of the season 3 episodes this time, and she would perk up every once in a while and go, wait a minute, what just happened? Something just happened, didn't it? And I'm like, yeah, it did. She's like, but why this? And I'd have to pause because like things are moving on. I'm like, okay, here we go. And I have to go back and basically recap the last season and a half. But it worked out pretty well.
I'm so like, when I realized that there's no new Star Trek this week, I was so sad because we got spoiled this year with Lower Decks and Discovery being back to back. They are in production on season 4 of Discovery already, so that makes me happy. I don't know if we'll see it this year, but I hope we do.
One question from Juju. How's the new house? It's working out very well. We are settling into rooms. I don't think any of the rooms are fully unpacked, but we're getting closer. And as I said at the top of the show, now that I have shelves, We don't have all of them up yet, but I'm actually able to start unpacking boxes, which is so satisfying to no longer have them in those boxes and actually have them on a shelf. I know that once I get them on shelves, I'm going to reorganize them. Right now, it's sort of like Ticket to Ride size box goes on a Ticket to Ride size shelf. And I'm not really, aside from just trying to fit as much as I can on the shelves, I'm not really organizing yet. Honestly, I haven't decided yet how I'm going to, like, am I going to do color? Am I going to do publisher? Am I just going to go straight up alphabetical? I don't know yet. I'm working on it. But I know size and then something. That's as far as I've gotten. The rest of the house, the studio is functional, and I've been working here for the past several months, and that's good too. So yes, thanks for asking.
Kabuki Kid asked you if you hate the spiral staircase yet.
I don't hate it. I like it. My kids love it. Like, they will choose to go. There is a second staircase that's sort of in the unfinished section of the basement that leads to the garage. So it's actually more convenient than using the spiral. But my oldest will use the spiral anyway because he just likes using it. The one thing that I've had to adjust to is my coffee. When I'm going to work in the morning, I have coffee that I drink in the booth, and I used to just have it in a mug. But going down those steps, especially when I'm like late for work and my engineer's waiting for me, it's dangerous, and I'm going to slip and fall and hurt. So I have to get these things. I have to carry these things around. And this one is too tall to fit on the shelf in the booth, so I had to get a smaller one, which doesn't hold as much coffee as I usually have. And so now I actually tried brewing the coffee into a Pyrex and then pouring it into the...
I feel so bad for you and your dangerous commute, Eric.
It's a difficult commute. Those are slippery steps. You never know what could happen.
I don't want to see a tweet from you that you've slipped and fallen and can't get up.
Yes, indeed. What is the background that's behind you, Crystal?
It is whatever mountain background the program that I am using for my camera had as an option. I could switch. We could go wherever we want. It just says mountains. This one says beach.
It's just whatever the default is.
It's we can go classroom.
That's a
library.
Whoa.
Marina. Oh, that one's pretty.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. There's newsroom. This is Crystal Dax reporting live from Dice Tower.
I like it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, these are just the generic ones that are we'll go to Paris. I'll be in Paris
nice.
for a little while.
Lovely.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't know. I apologize, y'all. I don't know what the photo is from. It's just what is listed in this program.
Haylox is asking, does somebody know how to mail Tom? If you really want to get a hold of Tom, it's tom@dicetower.com.
Earlier, Crystal, can you explain what the Star Trek, I think you mean short treks, are on CBS? This is actually interesting because they don't seem to advertise them that much. So between seasons 1 and 2 of Discovery, and then between 2 and 3,
I think. Between season 2 and Picard. Really. Yeah.
Yes. They released little short episodes, standalone episodes of Star Trek that were like 15-ish minutes long on average. And they connected to Discovery and Picard in some instances and connected to nothing in others. And they were really, really fun. They're listed separately in CBS All Access as a different program. And they will show you the most recent one first instead of the beginning. So you have to Google a list of the episode titles.
Yeah.
And watch the short treks in order. I think it's a bummer that they don't have that listed, especially like the Discovery-centric ones with Discovery, like as episodes.
Yeah.
Because there's one in particular that connects very strongly to season 2 of Discovery that you don't have to have watched it, but it really helps. And There's another one that kind of connects to season 2 and 3 in a way, I think. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, I'm thinking of 2 in particular that are directly related to season 2 of Discovery.
Yes. Oh, yes, definitely. There are 2 directly, and one kind of maybe. Who knows?
Yes. So yeah, those are well worth a view. One more question from Juju. Did your engineer follow you to work at your new place? Kind of. My engineer from the beginning of COVID has been working remotely, so we have a Skype call, kind of like I do with Crystal for this. And I'm in the booth listening to her on Skype while she follows along on my script. Ordinarily, she'd be sitting here in this chair and running things, but I actually moved closer to her. She lives also in Simsbury. She's like 8 minutes from the house now. So
Wow.
once we are able to work in person again, it's going to be a very short commute for her. It used to be almost an hour, and now it's going to be a hop, skip, and a jump, and that'll be fun.
I bet she was very excited about that.
She was delighted. It was not necessarily top of the list in our considerations, but she was pretty happy when she found out that that's where we were going.
Very cool. Well, we should definitely mention again that the Dice Tower Kickstarter is going on right now. So for those of you who have not taken a look at that, there are a lot of cool promos there. Kabuki Kid dropped a link, I believe, in the chat just a bit ago there. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you do that.
You can also go to dicetowerkickstarter.com and it will take you right there.
Yeah, fancy website that'll redirect you to the right place. So Eric, we are going to be back 1 week from tonight. Is that correct?
We are indeed. Okay. We're going to get back on track because we skipped last week, but we're going to get back to the every other week format, jumping in next week. Hopefully, we will be back with you next Wednesday.
Absolutely. Thank you all, as always, for hanging out with us here in the chat. We really appreciate you all being here and hanging out, asking questions, and just being awesome. We know that the world is weird right now, and we appreciate you all more than we can say. Before you leave today, if you could just click the little thumbs up button below the video to let the YouTube algorithms know that you enjoyed watching the show and to let your friends know the same. We really appreciate that as well.
Absolutely.
We will be back in 1 week on January 20th. At least that is the plan as of now. But until then, I am Crystal Dax.
I am Eric Summerer.
I almost said my old last name, which is why I got weird. And you've been watching Dice Tower tonight.
Thank you for watching. Promotional consideration has been provided by game publishers in the form of review copies of games. Crystal and I will see you next week for another installment. Our show is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Dice Tower Tonight is produced by Crystal and me with assistance from Tom Vassell, Mike Delisio, Roy Kennedy, and Rob Searing. The great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandson of Robinson Crusoe's friend is Friday the 13th. Timothy Pinkham composed our theme, and hosting is provided by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games at great prices at coolstuffinc.com. Give us your feedback on the Dice Tower Guild at Board Game Geek, on Facebook or Twitter, or by emailing us at crystal@dicetower.com or eric@dicetower.com. And don't forget to visit the other shows in the Dice Tower Network. Find something new at dicetowernetwork.com. Until next time, from all of us at the Dice Tower, have fun gaming. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.